This is definitely the most comfortable way to sit on a couch. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
like especially in denim.
Yeah, I think that's it. I feel like there are a million other positions I'd rather be in on a couch,
You're
but
right.
this in denim.
Okay.
All right, well, here we are. Welcome back to the Conscious Cowboys podcast. You have Madison and Tess. And this is our 4th podcast that we've recorded in the last week or so.
Wild.
So first off, congratulations to us for doing that.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Second, we had a podcast that we recorded with friends that just, the audio didn't come through for us, and it's really disappointing and sad. And so here we are for the 4th time re-recording an episode that will also be spectacular. So you're in for a good ride.
Yeah. So we're recording ahead of time. We typically record and release within a 2-day span. Like we record on like a Sunday or Monday, and then it comes out on Wednesday.
I don't know if that's necessarily by choice, but it's just like,
well,
we got to do that right now.
We would love to plan ahead, but you know what? We work multiple jobs each. 2 to 3
to support the dream. You know what we're saying? Anyone out there hear us?
Do you hustle like we do? So anyways,
God.
classic. So anyways,
Yeah.
what was I saying?
Oh,
I got caught up.
Oh, it's sad.
Oh, that we're recording ahead of time because I'm leaving for a week. So we have to make sure that we're slated because I'm gone 2 Wednesday morning. Oh no, only 1 Wednesday morning. Anyways, yep, it's fine.
Oh yeah, we're doing good.
We had to just get them ready to go so that we didn't leave our cowboy community hanging.
No,
We
we're
cannot
dedicated.
skip an episode. People are like, they do it in seasons or they take breaks when they need. And for sure, if something were to happen where we actually needed to take a break, of course.
Right.
But we're so driven and motivated that we put pressure on ourselves that if it's not like seriously a family emergency, then we're doing it.
Right. Like, or the world is ending, like it has to be that severe for us to not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are, which I feel like is
Yay.
in alignment with what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, okay, so, well, just a little outline of this episode is we want to get a little bit more specific on the direction that the Conscious Cowboys is going in. Because as everyone knows, or as people who have listened consistently know, that we started out as a wellness podcast, solely wellness. And we had the idea that it wasn't one size fits all and everything is wellness, which we still believe in. But we have a little, I guess a lot. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, I was going to use like a spice reference. Like, what the fuck am I even saying? But we just have a lot of other tools in our tool belt that we want to showcase on this podcast.
Good. Now
now I'm into tool belts. You're very visual, so I wanted to like uphold this.
Yeah. If you listen regularly, I can't get a point across unless I attach a visual reference
unless
to it.
She like literally can see it. Yeah. So, but anyway, we just want to redefine this brand a little bit. I mean, we redefined it for ourselves, but we're just publicly doing it now.
Well, and I think that, if anyone has ever done anything creative and been asked, so what is it?
Yeah, I was going to get to this.
Yeah, to like elevator pitch yourself and your brand. It is a real art.
Yeah.
Like to be able to articulate yourself in a concise way, but in an effective way is a really big job to really hone in on and figure out. And I don't know that Madison and I have like fully nailed down our elevator pitch yet.
I do know that we have not nailed it down. That's one thing that I do know. This is where the episode stemmed from, is when we were in San Diego. Everyone's like, wow, San Diego is really big. We get it. You like it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Gonna move there. Okay, you hate your town.
It was an expander of a situation, honestly. Like everything that happened it just forced us to expand. So that's why we talk about it a lot. I don't need to justify it. So anyway.
Throw it back to the Expanders episode. If you haven't listened to that, we talked about it in
listen.
terms of people.
Yes, but this was like.
But this was a
place, people,
event,
fucking ocean. Yeah.
The ocean
Everything.
Okay. Reeling it in.
Yeah. So it stemmed from our experience in San Diego, which just has happened to us previously, but this is the most recent punch. Okay. Is that we were at a party And everyone naturally was like, oh my God, you have a podcast. That's so cool. What is it about? And Tess and I immediately, when you asked us that, we go, oh my God. Okay. So we try to like, we're like, we haven't distinguished like exactly what it is yet. So bear with us. Like we're trying to come with, and they're like, okay, geez, I just asked what your podcast was called.
And then I hold you hostage for about 10 minutes trying to explain.
And I'm like, we lost, like their interest is not in us anymore.
Well,
like,
and it happened so many times. Sorry, I started talking over you.
No, it's okay. This is valuable.
Right. But it happened so many times throughout the night. Like seriously, it was like word got out that we had a podcast, and then it felt like every person we were meeting knew already.
Yeah, and our pitch didn't get better with each person. It got worse. No confidence was put forth.
Yeah, because we started going like, oh my God, we really sound like we don't know what we're talking about, and our podcast is fucking awesome in our opinion, but we're not selling it. Right. And then that started making us like nervous. So when people would ask us by the end of the night, we legit were not even explaining it. I would just look at Madison and be like, go ahead. And then she would look at me like,
I was like, thanks a lot. Like, I don't know. Oh my God. It was just not good. So to avoid that situation altogether, we are coming up with an elevator pitch that we don't necessarily have, but we're just going to talk openly about this. I feel like it'll be very not therapeutic, but beneficial.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it'll help you guys understand the brand a little bit better because yeah, wellness is great, and yeah, that's still very much so who we are, but it feels like such a box. So we almost can't use the word wellness in our elevator pitch like at all.
At all. Like it's not even in the elevator pitch that we have.
What do we have so far?
Okay,
we saw like a
TikTok.
A TikTok video. You're the one who found it. Can you explain it?
Okay, so I don't know what podcast it's from, but it's from these males, guys, whatever, that are content creators, and their outline for an elevator pitch is you have to say the first thing is like I am a blank and then what you do, and what they like said to put is like, oh, what's your personality trait or like something that you want to put forth. So theirs for example was like I am an easygoing content creator. I'm like, okay, that's like
you sound
really
like
matter. Yeah, I feel like for us that line would be like, okay, we're two best friends who have a podcast. Okay. And then you give 3 marketable skills that you specialize in, and then you finish with 3 interests that you have like with building your brand, or that you like they filmed, for example, like, oh, the ocean, this and that. Okay. Ours is like connection, finding support within our community along those lines.
So like could we potentially say, because it's, guys, I'm sure you've heard, but like we're building out like a movement platform, a sector of the company and the brand. So would you not just limit it to podcasts? It'd be like, we're 2 best friends who have a podcast and a movement platform together.
Yeah, I was even thinking like we're 2 best friends who are building a brand.
Okay.
And then that's like, for example, we have podcasts, we're building a movement platform.
Okay. And then after that, you said go into like what you like to specialize in, or what your focus is.
3 marketable skills that we specialize in.
Marketable skills that you specialize in.
I put, to be basic, podcast, movement, lifestyle content.
Okay. And then underneath that,
3
wasn't
interests.
it like 3 interests? Okay.
Yeah. Which is like Tess
Human
and I talk
connection.
about this. Yeah, all the time. So connection, like through conversation, obviously.
But also through movement.
Yeah.
Like I think that, and this like kind of veers off from building out this for a second.
But it doesn't matter.
When we are teaching movement and we are connecting with people in the studio, it's recording.
Okay. I was like always.
We always like freak ourselves out and we're like, is it actually? We can't wait for the day we have a producer who's listening and making sure.
We're like, all right, you good? Oh, we're good? Okay, good.
Well, because we have to think about like all these different elements the whole time. And that's why we were unable to use the recording with our friends, because one of the mics, the line, something happened to it. When I tested the sound, it was great. And then
when it was recorded, it just was like that mic was off.
Yeah. So anyways. But what I was trying to say was when we connect with people in the studio or just by moving their bodies, like that is such a vulnerable place to be for people. Like exercise is, I mean, even if you're like an elite athlete, like it's a mental game. And so for us, that's just, I feel like another element of connecting with people is like helping them connect with themselves and feeling good in their bodies, not just having funny or, you know, insightful conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also for the movement and podcast, they go together because one of our big things is that we're continuously trying to grow ourselves and be the best that we can be. And I feel like our podcast represents that, which is why we're even like evolving as we speak and like talking about it in this episode. And then also being the best that you can be like in your body, like becoming strong, whatever challenge you want to overcome through movement too. So.
Okay. So if we revisit the elevator pitch, how could we word this all together so it's like basically a 30-second thing?
That's a great question. I don't know if I even want to say it at this moment.
Because it's like not finished yet.
Yeah.
I am always curious, and not that we can get instant feedback right now, but if you're listening, I'm curious like what your perspective of our brand is. Like when you think of the Conscious Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Like how would you describe it to someone? You're like, oh, my friends have a podcast that I listen to. And this is what they talk about. Like I'm so curious what the perception of our whole thing is.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, that's so weird to think. Because like we have our vision, and so I can describe our vision and from my perspective what I think we're doing. But then just to think that like someone else might have a completely different thought about it.
I know. Well, I hope not. Yeah. I'm like, oh no, what do they think?
If they don't have a concise thought about it, then they're not really listening. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe I don't
like
know.
Maybe
it's
they've like heard
say.
an episode or something, but they're not like consistent listeners.
Yeah, or they kind of just don't care and they're like, they're fun, which I'm like, we're cool with that too. Yeah, we are fun. But I was thinking about that because about like describing people is like, that's when people say something about like your character traits and you're just like, oh my God, really? Like you think I'm that way?
Okay, I cried this morning. At tears of joy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're like,
oh
no, where
sad?
are we going? No, because our friend Madison, not this Madison, another Madison that we talk about, I feel like kind of often.
Yeah.
She shared with me that a mutual friend of ours that I don't know that well, but it's like her best friend. We ran into each other and I had like good conversation with her. And then she told Madison, that girl told Madison about our interaction and just like how she felt that I was really genuine.
Oh my God.
And
great compliment.
like that truly to be called genuine. I mean, it's not that I don't believe that about myself, but it's just so refreshing to hear that about yourself.
Yeah, that's a great, I mean, I
would
like, say
that's
like
the best compliment ever.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, cool.
Hell yeah.
You know, my act is working. You believe it.
Yeah, it's fake. We're not authentic on this podcast. We hate you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Way to take it too far, Madison.
No, not far. That reminds me of that the boys that we visited in San Diego called me dorky. And I was just like, oh, like I'm not like closed off to that. And like to some extent I am for short dorky, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just like interesting when you hear it from other people and you're just like, oh.
You're like, that's really?
Yeah, I wouldn't describe myself as that, but like I'm open to suggestion.
Well, and I think that we've talked about this off mic, but to go into that for our listeners, I think that was based off of the only thing they had ever seen of Madison or known of Madison is the little clips that we share with you guys on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
So if all they've ever seen is you literally being your most comfortable, authentic self, because you're with me recording.
Yeah.
And you like, I purposely like cut clips that are memorable or that maybe will make you smile if it's not like an insightful thing. So it's just you, like it's like the funniest moments of the podcast of you.
Yeah.
And then I post that. So they're like, oh my God, Madison got like this like quirky, like little dorky side to her. Like basically, I think what they meant by dorky was like that you don't take yourself very seriously and that you just like enjoy and you like are able to look deadpan in the camera and like say a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like dorky in the most like endearing way. Obviously, like really nothing about you is dorky. Like I actually can't pick one thing other than.
They're like, actually, she's so dorky, like you.
Not dorky at all.
Oh no, I don't. Yeah. It's totally fine.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so funny. Like when you hear, you're like, what? You think I'm dork? Like what? That's what you would say about
like,
me?
Literally want to be like, well, can you explain that to me? Like break it down. Why?
So if you also think
like,
Madison
okay,
is dorky, go ahead, slide it in the DMs. We're so curious.
I would love to know.
But then I like that I don't know what people think about me, you know?
God. Yeah, for the most
like
part.
I'm
Me
like,
too.
that's great. I don't want to know what everybody's thinking.
No, I'd freak out probably.
Stage fright.
Yeah, it's not right. But anyway, back to this.
Yeah.
Is, I guess, a question that I can ask that kind of helps us describe like who we are as a brand to people listening going forward is like just naming off traits that we think like represent our brand. Like, for example, authenticity.
Yeah.
Being genuine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, human connection. I know that we already like have said that, but connection.
It's like a leading thing.
Yeah.
Though.
That's all we've ever wanted was to build community.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how big or small. Like we just really love that sense of like partnership that we have with everybody who listens and follows the brand. And like, that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was listening to a lot of, you know how like sometimes, I don't know if this happens to people, but when I'm on YouTube and I just fall down like a rabbit hole of something. So today I started with TED Talks and then I just was like, all right, I got to listen to a lot of TED Talks. And then all of a sudden it got onto like Oprah. And so God. I'm like listening to motivational speeches from her and I'm like, God, she's a fucking badass bitch. Like literally goals. I know it's like a huge goal, but like, holy shit, she's amazing.
So Madison wants to be Oprah.
Oh my God, who doesn't? Like if you don't want to be here, you're lying. No, but she's just amazing. And she was talking about how people these days are always like, oh yeah, I want to build a brand, like, you know, build a brand. And she's like, what does that even mean? You know, she's like, when everyone would ask her what her brand is, she's like, I don't know, I'm just Oprah. Yeah. That's literally the goal, is that she just like stands so strong in who she is and like what she does. And it translates across everything that she's ever done. Yeah. And it's so cool. I'm like, that is exactly what we want to be.
Your tone is like, and she's ever done. Like,
well,
you're getting like more passionate.
I'm like, it's really amazing. Like, I feel like so then going down that rabbit hole, I like start to think about shit, obviously. So I was having a whole day about me thinking about how we moved, and we were really preoccupied with that. And like a lot of my journey throughout life has been like self-development, but also like really deep work. I don't know why. Like I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. So I still do that. And I feel like I fell out of that. And now I'm back in it where I'm like, all right, not that I want to change, but I want to get like deeper and find out who I am again. You know, like I'm in that kind of state since we're out of moving. I'm like, okay, I'm like kind of settled. Before our next big move, I can just like focus in. And maybe it's like has to do, like it's cyclical and it's like has to do with the change of the season. I don't know if you even want to get that deep into it, but yeah, I'm in that phase now. And I was just like listening to Oprah and I'm like, oh my God, yes to everything. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And it always, okay. So like to that, her saying that her brand is her, that always feels so vain, right? Like it doesn't sound vain when you hear her say it, but for us, it's like, oh yeah, we're building a brand. Oh, what's it about? It's like literally about us and like totally. Our lives.
And I felt the same way.
Like who wants to listen to you in your life? Her
explanation of it was that with anything that she does, she puts forth excellence. And like, she's like, how is that? Like, we want everyone to uphold that, and like her showcasing that for everyone, like we learn by her actions. And if she's always putting forth excellence, then we all, if we want to be like her, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you put it like that, it all becomes so simple, right? Like even just pitching yourself to people or networks. Networks. Do you hear us?
Yeah.
But it just becomes so much more simplified because that's really what it is. And it starts to feel, when you don't see other people doing that same thing, like it feels really scary to be like, oh no, our brand is literally us. Because people are like, well, who are you? And like, what do you stand for? And that's when you can start to go into those micro details about like the connection and this is what we actually do physically and all of the above. But
yes. And even though we're young, like our experiences are still valuable and worthy of people hearing and like taking the lessons that we've learned. Like that's still valuable in itself. So I never want to, like, if someone asks me that, I'd be like, oh my God, yeah, what do we have to share? I'm like, no, we do have a lot to share. Like we've lived only 28 years on this life, but that's
multiple
a lot
lifetimes
of experience
in those 28 years.
I'm like, we still are valuable with what we have to say and what we have to share, and our mission is really strong. And so yeah.
No, it's very true. This is why I love being business partners and best friends and roommates with Madison, is because she like gets these like gusts of wind where it's like crystal clear and you're like, oh my God, we're on it. Okay, we're on to something. Quick, grab your pen. Let's write this down.
For sure.
Madison and I talk about our dynamic a lot because we have to, right? We need things to run smoothly between us in every aspect. And something that I have really started to like wrap my brain around is how Madison is really like an ideas person. And she's like quick and creative, and I can really execute. And not that Madison can't execute and I can't come up with creative ideas, but that's just naturally where we live. Is like you're the creative brain and I'm like more logistical brain.
Yes.
And so it's actually really nice that we have each other because it feels very balanced.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, but it's constantly a learning lesson between the two of us. Like when we get new projects, like, you know, when we started editing video, it was like, okay, well, we didn't even really discuss who was going to do it. Yeah. It just kind of fell in.
Yes.
And it's great. And we actually switched roles. I used to write show notes. Now you do.
Yeah.
Like it's just, things are just adjusting.
Yeah. Yeah. When we were having conversation with Maria and Steph, which is the podcast that is not going to be published, but we'll meet with them again and record for sure.
We have something fun planned.
Yeah. It'll be great. But they were talking about like how lucky it is that we have each other and we're at the same phase in our lives. And I'm like, yeah, it's so lucky. Like we've said this a million times, but it really is serendipitous. And for us to not do something with this that we have going on would be a literal crime.
Yeah, I agree. When we were talking with them, a like noteworthy thing that they shared with us, because we were basically asking what their advice is to us as like friends and business partners and just in general kind of gals in our late 20s. And something that came up like quite a bit and that they were really honing in on was not comparing yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think that as we talk about our mission statement and we talk about kind of where the brand is going and who we are in this moment, that's a really important thing to keep coming back to, is not comparing ourselves to any other podcast or any other duo out in the field or anything that we've ever seen before. We just have to stay who we are because that's the value.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tess and I were even talking about that. I feel like that's a good segue, even though this is a really small thing to mention, is that we've previously recorded TikToks that we look at now and we're like, oh, we can't repost those because it just doesn't feel like us anymore. Like in the moment it was us, but it was kind of us like trying something on. Yeah. Like we're like, oh, well, people get views because they do this, so maybe we should do that. Which is just like sad to even say, but like everyone kind of thinks that at some point.
It's sad to say because we know better.
Yeah.
But also when you are literally trying anything to grow your platform, because again, we don't want to be working 3 jobs for the rest of our lives.
I'm like, have we not said this enough that we need this? Okay.
But what I was getting at is like, you will literally try anything. Like that's how much we've set our egos aside, is that we were willing to literally just send it in every way possible. Even if it didn't necessarily feel right. We're like, this works. Let's try it.
Yeah. Cause also to be fair, we didn't really know what felt right at the time, you know, like we were like, okay, we don't even know where to start. Let's just try something. And we tried it. We didn't like it.
Well, creating anything online between the two of us, that was new.
Yeah.
Like we had never really crossed that bridge. So how do you know what feels right?
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know. I've literally never made a, video
like,
in my life. Yeah,
do I want to make a recipe video like this? I don't know. Let's try it. And then 6 months later, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like,
why did I do that?
Gross.
It's so.
Yeah. But like so proud of ourselves for putting ourselves out there, obviously, but just not the vibe.
No, but I think that that's an important stepping stone, is like, you kind of have to try things on and figure out like, does this look good? Does this feel good? Is this actually authentic to me? You have to kind of go through that journey in order to hone in on your skill.
Yeah, which is one of the positives of having such slow growth, is that we're able to try out many different things before we find our niche of like, oh yeah, this feels good and this also works and is received well by our community.
Yeah. that was something that we talked about in the beginning. Cause like, you know, when you're starting something, you're like, this could either not grow at all, this could go slowly, or this could take off overnight. And any of those things can happen at any time.
Yeah.
And something that we talked about early on was like, okay, if this goes big, quick, are we ready for something like this? Are we confident enough in our vision? And not that you have to be, but like that's definitely a conversation that we had in the early days was like, could we even manage if we were to have like 1 million followers and having to be, I mean, we would figure it out quick and we'd thrive.
Yeah.
But in the early days when we were the wellness rookies, it was like, I don't know. I've never done anything like this before. So how can I know for sure? But I'm willing to try.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I feel very confident.
Now
you can send us whatever you want.
Very confident. Yeah. And yes, we still have some things. I feel like actually if the ready for like, would you be ready? That kind of question can be related to like motherhood. Like they're like, oh, you're never ready. You just kind of like jump in.
Yeah. We talked about that with the girls also.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, in terms of like having children, you always hear like, you know, you'll know. Or like, you know, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And they're like, you will literally never be ready for something like that. I mean, some people are, but most people like don't actually feel 100% ready because it's such a big life change.
I don't even know when I really ever feel 100% ready for anything.
No. And I like that we just push ourselves anyways. And we're like, hey, do it.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. You know how to swim. We know
that's worth it for our end goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that this was very helpful to discuss, elevator pitches, and hopefully if you are someone who like needs to be able to pitch yourself, that tool of listing off kind of a trait about yourself and what you do and your skills and then your interest, that kind of formula hopefully
so
serves you.
Just list it off and it's quick.
Yeah, you're like, oh, when you break it down, you're like that. You're like,
we're like, oh, it's
I couldn't say that to that party of people.
I'm so embarrassed by some of the stuff that I said. I'm like, oh my God.
I wish that I had like a QR code on my, I just thought an idea. We have like a QR code where like just scan it. And this is like everything you need to know.
No,
I'm not saying kidding. In place.
Oh, okay. Cause I was like, that like literally destroys our whole thing about connection. Hey, we don't actually want to talk to you, but can you scan this QR code?
No.
Then you get to see.
No.
I'm like, no.
Not like in place of a conversation of like, oh, just read our bio, but more so like, everything is linked through this QR code.
Oh,
so like after we tell you about it, here.
Yeah,
it's like an
really
updated
smart
version of a business
We should
card.
Actually do that because
instead
if it
of
just like goes right to the subscribe button, like on Spotify, you know, like right to the follow button. I swear to God, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like not everyone has Spotify, and that's why I don't send people directly to our Instagram because like not everyone has an Instagram, you know. Yeah. So I'm like, well, what kind of phone do you have? Like, do you have an iPhone?
They're like, I have an Android. I'm like, just don't even listen. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, that's actually in terms of percentages, it's a lot of our users. Yeah. Anyways, I was just saying that we could link everything, all of our different avenues through a QR code.
We should seriously do that.
Nice. We got an idea.
Okay.
The train.
Great.
I probably can't hear it, but that's it for us this week.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. This is a spur of the moment kind of episode, although I feel like it was executed pretty well and it doesn't even feel like it was spur of the moment.
Yeah. Feels like, but it's also like innate to us. So
that's true. We do this.
It's things we talk about a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So welcome to the club. Welcome to the community. We hope you stick around for good. And
be sure that you're subscribed and following the show and the Instagram. Everything is linked in our show notes. Mm-hmm. And guys, we'll talk to you. I mean, we won't record for another week, which is so weird.
Oh my God, it's going to feel weird. But yeah, we'll talk to you
very soon.
Yeah. Like to forget our whole sign off.
All right,
we'll
guys.
talk soon.
Until next time.
Talk soon.